Hello and welcome to Soul Conscious Tarot. This is our soul weather forecast. Let's see what we have this week. This is a general message, so whenever you find it, there's probably something in it meant for you. It is a timeless message. We go ahead and get an oracle card, an emoji card, some tarot, draw some tarot, and we just see what is in the what the universe wants to talk to the general collective at large about. And then, then I break it down later in the day and we do sign by sign, breaking down that energy. So what do we got this week, universe? What do you got for us this week? Okay, we have the Dragon's Lair, number 19. So I'm really getting this like a fire in the belly kind of energy, and it's interesting. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like, dragons of course breathe fire, but I'm feeling like, it looks like on this card there's all this ice and frozen stuff, and you're like, why fire in the belly? Well, because I see this ice, that's around this, as almost melting. I see it kind of in this melting state, and I feel like that basically what's going on, if you look at everything that's been going, it makes sense to me, but it probably doesn't to you right now, so I'll go ahead and explain it. But if you look at things in the world around us and how they've been the last couple of years, we've been in this state, like on a global scale, of this kind of them against me kind of attitude, where it's you're either with me or you're against me, where people have taken these hard stands on topics, and it's like there's been this division between lots of different topics. There's been so much going on in the world where we have kind of drawn a line in the sand, and we've said, we've taken sides, and if you're not on my side, then you're against me. And I feel like that is starting to slowly go back, slowly, the line isn't as harsh, is what I want to say. Like, I see, as this ice is kind of melting, and we've had this fire in the belly, as far as being very passionate and driven about what we believe in our stand and our side of things, and like I said, this kind of for or against something, and being very non-compromising in that. I see that is slowly melting away and deteriorating. I see that we're moving into a place after the last couple years or so, that I really feel that we're starting to move into this space where we're a little bit more willing to compromise, or to see the other person's perspective, to open our minds up and see all the viewpoints, and maybe, not necessarily, change our minds, but be willing to say, we beg to disagree, agree to disagree, kind of a stance, instead of, I don't want anything to do with you because you don't think the same way as me, which is kind of what has been going on in the world lately, where people, it's like I said, we've almost gotten into this place of this you versus me mentality, or if you're not with me, you're against me. And I really see that that's slowly, and it's gonna be slow, okay? This is just, I see that is maybe beginning to melt. That rigidity is beginning to melt a little bit, where we've been very harsh and very rigid and very stern in the way we look at things, and not willing to like I said, agree to disagree with somebody, where we have pushed people away, and we've drawn those lines in the sand, and we've said, if you don't believe the same thing as I do, then I don't want you in my life. I see that not, that we're turning from that a little bit, that rigidity and harshness, that cruelness, and we're softening a little bit. The ice around us is melting, and I see that even though we still have that fire in the belly, that passion that drives us, and our stances, but we're willing to be a little bit more compassionate for other people and their decisions. And I see that this is what I feel like the shift that's happening now, that we're starting to get on that cusp of like I said, the rigidity kind of starting to melt, and us kind of get back to being a little more compassionate, a little bit more forgiving, not so rigid, willing to accept that not everyone agrees with us, and be okay with somebody not agreeing with us, and it doesn't necessarily mean, like right or wrong, and it doesn't mean that, that your point of view is any less important. You still are very passionate about the things that you believe in, but you do it from a place. We're gonna do it more from a place of reason versus drastic measures is what I'm getting here. I know that was a lot off of that card, but it was a lot that came through there. So and I do kind of apologize, because I know there was a little bit of a break of a transition here in the video. When I was doing that, I had a phone call that came through that I had to take as I was beginning to film there, as I was pulling the card. So there might have been a little bit a break, and if you saw that, that's what happened. I had to take a phone call, so I do apologize for that. But I did think that what was coming through and the message that came through as I was reading that card was significant enough, because it is a big transitional time. It's really, the universe is telling us this is a big transitional time. And I think we're going to see that play out when we get to, as I said, when I do the individual signs, we're going to see that theme kind of play out in different ways, where we're going to see that softening of the boundaries, the softening, being a little bit more compassionate, a little less rigid, where there's been maybe some standoffs between people in our lives, or in general, and things in our lives. I see, I really see that those walls coming down in a lot of cases is what I feel. Great message. I really hope that you're tuning in to listen to this. So our emoji card, this is our emoji card for the week. I really get this as, I just feel this is a hecticness, a little bit frazzled, and this is the holiday season. So honestly, not surprised at all that would come out. Because I'm guessing most people have a lot on their plates, because usually the holiday time is always really hectic. You're usually, busy doing a lot of things, trying to a lot of events going on, or trying to at work, you might have a job that you're, where the end of the year is always a crazy time, where you're stressed, trying to get a lot done in your job or in other areas of your life. It never fails at the end of the year is usually a pretty crazy hectic time. So honestly, not surprised at that emoji card whatsoever. I just would, that's what I'm going to chalk it up to. It's not anything to be worried about. It's just saying, probably a little bit stressed, maybe a little bit frazzled, a little bit tired at this time of the year. That's it. So let's see what we've got for our tarot. Okay, well, this card definitely, I've seen it come up twice and it flipped over. So we're definitely we're gonna take that Ten of Swords. And I really get that, it kind of goes with what I was saying quite a bit. Because, Ten of Swords, swords can be very cutting, swords can be very cutting, and Ten of Swords usually talks about pain that we've undergone, and so if we feel like, we've had to put up our defenses because we've had to defend ourselves, we've had to defend our point of view, defend, what we believe in a harsh way, where we had to stand up for ourselves and stand up for the way we think, and it's led us to be, harsh with other people, where we've had to cut people out of our life and we've had to push people away. I mean, it definitely makes sense, that with the Ten of Swords would come out, and especially, it being the 10, because, the 10 in tarot it's the end of something, the 10 resets to an ace, so in everything I talked about, where I've said that this period is ending, that harshness, that rigidity, that could have carried some pain with it, is ending. And of course, look at that. I love how tarot just it's perfect, it really does. It backs itself up, and I love that with the Six of Pentacles coming out here, because that talks about reciprocity. It talks about being willing to compromise and give a little bit more, and we talked on that. We touched on that with this Oracle card as well. So it's these, the tarot cards are just backing up essentially everything that I said in that one card that came out, that came through. It's so interesting how that works, because it's just, it's basically the universe saying, hey, yeah, you were right in what, backing up what came through and what I said. So that talks about, like I said, but we're in this space, and it could be because we're in the holiday season, and it's a season of giving, it's a season where we, this time of year is when we are, thinking, in a mind frame that we're more grateful for things that we have. We're more appreciative of things. We're more giving. We give of ourselves to our families or whatever. Where we spend time with people, and I definitely see that. I definitely see that. And so what we had, the last card that flipped over was the Hierophant. And the way that I see this is, the Hierophant, it just tells me that after a period of reflection, after this period of kind of introspection and reflection, I think that you realized maybe you might have been a little bit, we as a people, and I'm not talking about somebody specific, so please don't take it personally, but we as a collective, because this is a very general reading on the collective at large, we as a people have we, like I said, we've been rough, we've been rigid, and I think that, there's been this time where we've, we're in that cooling stage, we're in that point where we're about to transition and come out of that, and usually that comes after a moment of reflection, after we have realized maybe we went too far, as a people, we've maybe gone a little bit overboard. And so we're kind of reining it back a little bit, trying to find the new normal. And, it's funny because when you're trying to find a new normal, it actually doesn't surprise me, that it can be a little bit trying. It can be a little bit hard when you're trying to, find a new normal after maybe if you've cut people out of your life, and you're now you're surrounding yourself or trying to build a new life around, gain a new tribe, build a different life than the one that you've had previously. It can be a little bit challenging, and there can be, a little bit of a discord and frazzledness that comes with that, as you navigate, your new life, a different life than the one that you were used to before all this happened, before the world kind of got a little bit topsy-turvy, and it's not to say that the world isn't still topsy-turvy. It's just the fact that, the way we're looking at things has shifted a little bit. Like the way we're seeing things, even though the same stuff is there, we're just, as I said, not as rigid as we were in the last couple years, where we've been so hard and so rigid on people, and very, maybe, I know a lot of people have been very short-tempered, where just not as tolerant as in previous times, and I feel like that, that where we have been less tolerant, that's one of the things that is kind of changing here, is slowly changing, is we're walking into this space where we feel like we can be a little bit more tolerant than we have been in the recent past, That's the shift that's occurring. And it's all from our perspective, it's all from our point of view. That's why it's swords here on the table, because, it is a mental thing, and it takes that mental shift to decide, to decide for ourselves that we're not going to be as rigid as we were, that we're willing to compromise a little bit more. We're willing to show a little bit more compassion. That all starts in us, so it doesn't surprise me that this would be the Ten of Swords. And as I said, that usually that changes over, that's the end of something, an end of an era, something ending, coming to an end. And I definitely see that here. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me that it's been very hard. That's not surprising at all, that it's been very hard. It's been very hard to move forward. It's been very hard to show that compassion. It's been hard in these last few years to show compassion to people that don't have the same viewpoints as us, that aren't in the same place as we are. We see that as as I said, we've been in this place on a collective where it's either my way or you're either for me, with me or against me kind of an attitude. And I see that slowly changing. As I said, I think that more compassion is coming through, even though it's difficult because we've been in this harsh place and this harsh energy. I really feel that it's softening. Like I said, the ice is melting. That we're softening. We're willing to be a little more compassionate. But that's it is taking some strength to be more. To be willing to tolerate more, to tolerate more from others, and willing to say, hey, this one thing that we don't agree on isn't the end all be all. It isn't a good enough reason necessarily to cut ties and end things with you. And because I think that, I think we've caused ourselves some heartaches in some instances where we've, if we've separated ourselves from others because of the fact, people, it could be, I know that there's people that, and I've seen it, it didn't happen to me personally, but I've seen, people that cut themselves off from family members and different things over, over political reasons and other different things that's gone on in the world where you had a difference of opinion. And you just, you couldn't tolerate them. So people cut them off, and that causes pain, especially when it causes pain when we cut somebody off that may be, it may be a family member, somebody, or a close friend or something like that. And when you find out you weren't on the same page about something and it caused this rift between you, that can cause a lot of pain, and that harshness, that I see, with that King of Swords, like I said, swords can be very cutting. These are both swords, and I see that's where, it's been very hard and very challenging, that we've had to be in this place. And I feel because of that, though, we're realizing that, that maybe having that strong of a standpoint, it's, not only is it hurting others, but it's hurting ourselves as well, because now we're, we may have lost some people that we valued in other areas of our lives, because of that one thing. Because of that one thing, you push somebody away for that one thing, and weren't willing to, agree to disagree, and say, hey, we can still be friends even though I don't agree with the way you think on this topic or that topic. I feel like that's the space we're moving into, because we realize by being so rigid, by being so dead set and saying, if you believe this, you can't be my friend, that's hurt a lot of people. It's not only hurt, them, but it's also hurt you, those people that, you pushed away. There could be somebody in your life that you've pushed away, that you maybe had even a little bit of regrets for doing that, because of over that one thing, or saying, I wish they didn't believe this one thing, I wish they weren't on this page, but now we're saying, instead of saying, I can't be your friend, or you can't be in my life because you don't believe the same thing as I do, you're saying, we're walking into that space as a collective of saying, it's okay for us to agree to disagree. We're moving back to that, that harshness and rigidity that we have seen. I see that starting to slowly melt, and this isn't going to happen overnight. I see this is coming, and then that's one of the gifts that I have is I have this ability to sometimes see things that are coming, that are like a trend, to see kind of the writing on the wall sometimes, and this is one of those times where I'm seeing that, I'm seeing that kind of far reaching, that we're just in that space where we're turning the corner, we're turning the edge on where we've been the last few years on being so rigid with people, that we're slowly melting, we're slowly softening up, and not being so harsh with people in our lives, when it might be something we can just say, okay, on this one thing we agreed to disagree, and let's just leave it at that. And this is what I was saying, that kind of regret, that we felt for being so harsh with people around us, on certain things, at the time, it's kind of that kind of a feeling. And that's what, that's what drove this, that, with it being on the Hierophant, that inner wisdom of saying, seeing that this caused some hurt and heartache, not only on your side, but on other people's sides as well, of taking this harsh of a stance, and it, realizing that, it was impacting a lot of different areas of your life, impacting the way you felt and the way you saw things, interesting. I love when messages come through like this. I really hope a lot of people view this, because I think it's a really, really important message. I think it's something that people need to hear and know, to know that we are kind of moving into a period, even though it's going to be slow coming, because this is going to be a slow change. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, especially at the collective level. Nothing happens overnight at a collective level, but I do see that softening of the edges. I see the ice melting, I see, even though people will still be as passionate and driven about their beliefs and their viewpoints, I just see the ice melting, where we're not going to be so harsh about it. We're not going to be, willing to just cut someone out of our life, because they don't believe or see eye to eye with us on something, because we're seeing that they're more than just that one thing. They might bring more value to our life than just that one thing that we weren't willing to look past, and the fact that through talking and communicating about it, and being willing to not see, knowing, accepting you don't see eye to eye, maybe you can, we start to enter talks to find a common ground. And that's what this leads to, is a place where you can find a common ground, that Six of Pentacles, that reciprocity, to find that common ground between you and other people, or other people that might have differences of opinions. And this is, as I this is planting the seeds. We're planting those seeds. This is, as I said, I really feel like this is just we're just on the precipice of it. It's not, we're just turning that corner. We're about to turn that corner. I see this coming, this is something that's coming, something that's coming. I'm actually surprised that didn't turn into that this wasn't the Ace of Swords, but I understand why the Ace of Wands is here, especially looking at this imagery. This is that new beginning of seeing things in a new light. And if you look at this, you have a butterfly of transformation. You have the sun on this card, of happier days ahead, and still having that passion, as I said, still having that fire in the belly, still having that passion for your beliefs, so I see, why this card came out to me, to show me that this is the new beginning. This is a new beginning, seeing things in a new light, even though you still have, you still have your beliefs, you still have your desire, you still have your passion for your beliefs and your point of view. It's that willingness to be a little bit more compassionate, to allow for more smoother sailing instead of being so harsh. And that's just, ready to undergo that, ready to act in the world in that way, Beautiful, 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 beautiful. And the High Priestess, that doesn't surprise me either, because we know it's what's right. We know it's what's best. So, this is a beautiful, beautiful, amazing reading, amazing message. I really, really hope there's a lot of people that take advantage and listen to this, because I think that a lot of people do need to hear it. I think that it'll even maybe help some people out there, knowing that, that we are maybe going to be moving into a period eventually where people aren't going to be so harsh, that there's always going to still be those harsh people, but as a collective, overall, we're not going to see the sharp edges to the drastic extremes that we have seen the last few years. That is going to slowly, kind of almost a meanness in a way. I see that kind of, the anger and the meanness and the harshness, the rudeness. I see that tapering, it's beginning to taper. I think it's going to mellow out. But as I said, it's not going to come overnight. It's going to be slow coming. But if you're a person that's hoping that people are going to ease up a bit and not, be a little bit easier to deal with, that's coming. That's coming. It is coming. Everybody's going to hit that point at different points in their life, at different times in the coming years. As I said, it's not going to happen overnight, and so different, depending on where you are, but I see as a collective that overall we're going to see people not be as cold and harsh and rude as they have been over the last couple years or so, as we've seen things get really, really crazy with what has gone on in the world. So I thank you so much for joining me this week. Like I said, really, really great message. I hope you like this message. If you do, hit that like button down below. I would love to hear your comments and inputs. And, even if you see this happening already, if you've seen this difference, maybe you have, maybe you have seen this beginning to happen for you, or maybe you feel it happening for you. And I would love to hear your viewpoint on that. So feel free to leave any comments down below. I thank you so much for joining me this week. I wish you the very, very best joy, love, and light.